Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, we are celebrating that the Sun and Moon 4 set Crimson Invasion, as we're going to know it, has been revealed in Japan. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? We need to look at the most exciting card we've not already looked at. I've done a lot of these cards already. We are finally getting an Alolan Marowak card. We've waited. We have waited for this, ladies and gentlemen, and I tell you something for nothing. This is pretty gosh darn tasty. Now, of course, it is a fire Pokemon. Alolan Marowak in the game is Fire Ghost, so it had to be either fire or psychic. They've gone fire. It is a non-GX Alolan Marowak, but there's a lot to like about it. Now, starting off 100 HP is actually kind of low, to be honest. We've seen a lot higher than that on a lot of Stage 1 Pokemon. And the retreat cost of 2 is the worst possible, because retreat cost of 3 you get Heavy Ball, retreat cost of 1 is low, 2 is the worst. Weakness to water is a slight issue, because things like Alolan Ninetales and Greninja are running around, so there will be plenty of things to hit you for weakness. But I do like the fact that you're a fire Pokemon here. Being a fire Pokemon means you're hitting for weakness against things like Metagross and Golisopod, both of which are seeing a lot of play at the moment. Now, the first attack here is one about which we should be particularly excited. For 0 energy, and remember, a lot of these Alolan form cards do have 0 energy attacks. Fire Dance. Choose a number of fire energy from your discard pile, up to the number of energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. Now, we really need to focus on the translation here. I'm going from Pokebeach.com, who were the first people to have the translations up, and the way they've written it, it is your opponent's Pokemon, not the defending Pokemon or your opponent's active Pokemon. And this makes a huge deal. Because if it's just your opponent's active Pokemon or the defending Pokemon, then they've got 1 energy on, you get to attach 1 energy from the discard. I mean, you're basically talking Volcanion here, meh, nobody cares. But if it is attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon, and the wording that we've got seems to suggest that that's what it is, although as with all of these Japanese cards, I will tell you, you need to wait for an official English language translation before you can take it as read. But if it is as we think it is, this is potentially really, really good. Like, incredibly good. Because your opponent cannot attach energy just for fear of Marowak, but then, like I've said, they're playing in a way they don't want to play just to slow you down. That's okay by me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm fine if my opponent wants to deliberately slow themselves down to try and hurt me. That is something I can live with. But then again, we see Vikavolt Bulu decks at the moment. A lot of them are starting to tech in a Tapu Koko GX, whose GX attack does more damage according to the amount of energy your opponent has on the field. If someone can play a GX Pokemon for a GX attack that depends on how many energy they've got on the field, we can certainly play a non-GX for 0 energy that depends on the same thing. Against some decks, you are going to make out like a bandit here. Against something like a Gardevoir, for instance, maybe you get 4-5 energy from your discard onto your bench using this. That would be cool. And it's basically Turtonator GX's GX attack, Nitro Tank. Now, Turtonator GX takes 5 from the discard for 1 energy. In theory here, if your opponent's got enough Pokemon on the field, you can get more than 5 for no energy. That's amazing! Not only that, but you don't even have to attach any energy to Alolan Marowak. So something like a Gardevoir is going to need to take 4 energy just to KO Alolan Marowak here. Although, as a side note, and this is the same with Turtonator GX's GX attack, so it's not a huge deal, but of course you are attaching to your bench, and then that's ending your turn, which means your opponent has a free turn to Guzma up one of those Pokemon with the energy attached, and then try and take them down. So you attach free energy to a Turtonator, get it ready for the following turn. There's nothing to stop a Gardevoir just using Guzma to bring it active and then take a KO, taking advantage of all that energy you've just put on it. Having said that, although we've got Tapu Lele nowadays, we've lost Versus Seeker, so it's harder at the moment for your opponent to search out these supporters when they need it than it has historically been. That doesn't mean they're never going to have it when they need it, but it does mean that it's less likely they're going to than in previous formats. I mean, there's no way around it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great attack. This isn't an every turn attack, potentially. It's not even an every game attack. It's just like Nitro Tank GX. You don't always use it. But if you end up, usually in the mid to late game, and you don't have enough energy on your field, what you can do is end your opponent down to a low hand size. You can then use Alolan Marowak, just like you would use Nitro Tank GX, to attach a whole bunch of energy to all of your Pokemon, and then you've got enough to finish out the game. For that reason, I adore this attack, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a bunch of free attacks on Alolan Pokemon, and let's be clear, the best free attack is still Alolan Vulpix. And I don't think there's any arguing about this. Beacon is too darn good. But I think this is right up there. You want another advantage about Alolan Marowak? How about the fact that Cubone... Actually, Cubone's really good. First of all, for 1 colourless energy, flip a coin if heads, the defending Pokemon is paralysed. It's Bubble from Froakie. But secondly, Cubone is a fighting Pokemon. And you're likely to want to play Alolan Marowak in Turtonator Volcanion decks, which often nowadays play Brooklet Hill in order to search out Volcanion EX, which is a water type. Well, good news, Cubone's a fighting type, and Brooklet Hill will also allow you to search for fighting types. So it's a weird kind of advantage, a weird kind of synergy, but that's really cool. The Cubone here is well worth having in the deck, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great little advantage that you get. And before we move on to the second attack, just a quick note that this doesn't do any damage like Nitro Tank. So in the early game, you still want to use Baby Volcanion, hey Nick, to accelerate that energy. It's just that you've got a 0 energy, you can get lots as a nice alternative here. So the second attack, 2 fire, 1 colourless, Bone Meringue. I know, it's just like in the game. 70 damage for each coin you can flip out of 2 coins. And stop me if you've heard this one before. It just depends how many heads you can flip. If you can flip 2 heads, this attack is great. 140, add a choice band, 170. That's enough to take down a Tapu Lele, which is good. But 0 heads, 0 energy, that's really bad. You can play the Guardians Rising Victini here to give yourself an extra chance. If you don't flip as many heads as you need, you can use Victini. But you're putting free energy on a fire Pokemon here. I know he's a non-GX, but honestly, ladies and gentlemen, most of the time, I'd rather just go Baby Volcanion, because there you're just doing a flat 100 damage. That is not to say that this is a bad attack that you'll never use, because 100 damage cannot KO a Tapu Lele for the win. This can. Now it's unlikely you will. You've got basically a 25% chance if you're not playing a Victini, and a 50% chance if you are playing a Victini. This is not an every game strategy, but sometimes you're about to lose the game. Sometimes you need to KO a Tapu Lele for the win. This can do it with 2 heads and a choice band, although if you put free energy and a choice band onto a Turtonator, you get the guaranteed KO on the Lele. This isn't a terrible attack, it's not an unusable attack. I just think that between Turtonator for a big attack, who can use Steam Up with Volcanion EX, and with non-EX Volcanion to do 100 for free energy, that most of the time there's going to be a better option. Now, I haven't mentioned that this attack burns as well. The burn is quite nice. Essentially, when you burn a Pokemon, 20 damage between turns, flip a coin if heads are no longer burned. Really, this will just guarantee you an extra 20 damage when you do the attack. If you flip double heads, it means you go from 170 to 190, which will KO something like a Lapras or a Turtonator or a Drampa or something like that. It's not huge, ladies and gentlemen. It's not amazing. It's a nice extra bonus. It does extra damage. The problem is, I've just just run you through why there are other Pokemon that deserve the energy investment better than Alolan Marowak. Burn is nice, and if the Pokemon stays in the active for several turns, they will take several turns worth of burn damage, but honestly, it doesn't change the fact that free energy is better put somewhere else. As a couple of quick ruling queries, and I know a lot of you know this, but I want to say them because I've seen questions about this in the past. If you flip double tails, you do nothing, even with a Choice Band attack. Choice Band only adds damage if there is damage to begin with, and you cannot use Steam Up on Alolan Marowak. It's not a basic Pokemon. We've all made that mistake. I'm going to give Alolan Marowak between 3 and 4 Wassies. It's as simple as that. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. That's probably even more simple. It is a tech in Volcanion, Turtonator, or other fire decks. It is a mid to late game, potentially better Nitro Tank GX that doesn't use your GX attack and doesn't give up 2 prizes if it gets KO'd. Outside of that, I don't really like the attack and I don't see much use for it. But this 0 energy attack is great. Because here's the thing, you end your opponent down to 2 cards, even if you whiff the energy, you can still use Alolan Marowak. This first attack is great, the rest of the card is decidedly underwhelming. But I want to know what you think. Get it down there in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.